Back to pass. Looking, going to throw one deep down the right sideline. Intended for deep. Catches it in stride.
Throwing middle is caught. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's gone, baby. 10-5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions.
I'll be cruising in my lane fast,
inside the 35-yard line of the Bengals.
I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call
He's gonna throw, ball is caught. JSN near side.
When they hype me, the following grows, they know.
First time in NFL history a team's been 5-5 with that scenario. Here's the pass over to Hunt.
Best rushing offense in the NFL goes way to the beginning.
Turning losses into gains, I'm the person making change. I've been rocking this exchange. Popping off and risking things, gonna make a fucking name.
Into the end zone, Devontae Adams with the
I don't want that
touchdown.
cheap fame, no I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It's not Friday, it's Sunday, but welcome back to another episode of Football Friday. Myself, Daniel, alongside with me as always, Nathan from In Hindsight. Nathan, how is it going, my man? How are you doing, my man?
I'm not doing too bad. We're able to start getting out of the house now since the weather's starting to switch up a little bit, so that's a plus.
Oh,
been a long off season, so I think this has been our first episode since the NFL season. So long off season, slow off season. Things are going to be picking up. Things are going to be picking up tomorrow around noon. So we're here. We're going to talk a little bit about some names and kind of who's going to be on the cusp and available tomorrow, and kind of go from there.
Yes, sir. Well, you know what? We haven't talked about the Super Bowl. It concluded. Just a quick thing, real fast. The New England Patriots did not win. And sorry, Heather, she's in one of our mods. She's a fan of the Patriots. They end up going down. Were you shocked by the game itself?
No, not at all.
Did it play out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I thought Seattle's defense was probably gonna give them a really hard time, and they did. The guy was a ragdoll out there. Sam Darnold wasn't really that great, but their offense did enough. But I kind of figured Seattle's defense was probably going to help lead the way, honestly, that game, and it's basically what happened.
Now, so Sam Darnold? I mean, we'll talk about Sammy. He's a he had a great year the year before. With the Minnesota Vikings, he's had an up and down career, mostly in the right trajectory the last couple of years. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl. Towards the latter end of the season for Seattle, it felt like his play was a little bit up and down, but I thought he cleaned it up in the playoffs and in the postseason. Does this mean that you don't have to have that superstar quarterback, that that elite guy, that's your Patrick Mahomes, your Aaron Rodgers in his prime, so to speak, to get to the dance? Or is this more of a product because of Patrick Mahomes wasn't available? They had a down season. The AFC side of things, really didn't shake up as most people would have thought of. The Ravens weren't in the playoffs. Joe Burrow was out most of the year, so he wasn't in the playoffs either. And do you think that this is more so a product of, what kind of happened with health down the end of the year? Or do you think that this is maybe a change of the way things are going, and maybe perhaps, it could be shooken up a little bit and anybody can win this thing?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good point. It's a good question. Well, it's definitely was bound to come to a point where some of these other teams were going to start ascending, because for those years you had Kansas City at the top. You always usually had Buffalo around second. Baltimore was kind of there. Cincinnati was there for a couple years. But it was going to get to a point where you had some of these other teams start to rise through their drafts and their free agencies that they did over a span of years. So New England, Jacksonville, Houston defensively did such a great job with their drafts and everything like that the last couple years. So it was going to come to a point that those teams were going to do that. And with Kansas City being as bad as that they were, it wasn't even the fact, like even when Mahomes was playing, they were just off, that they were a bad team.
Yeah.
So I think it's just I personally think it's a little bit of a changing of the guard. Doesn't mean that some of these other teams that have kind of been around for a while, doesn't mean that they won't be, but you're starting to see the league pick up more as some more quarterbacks are coming in the league. Coaches are changing. Dynamics in the front office are changing with some of these teams. Talents getting acquired and drafted for these organizations. So it was just going to come to that point. Yeah. Because from probably we'll say 2020 up to before last season, you kind of really had your big three in the AFC, and that was kind of it was going to come to a point. You're going to have some of these other teams start, and teams like Buffalo or Kansas City or the Ravens were going to start to dip a little bit. That's just the way it goes. Doesn't mean they'll stay there, but teams are ascending. NFC, again, other teams are starting to ascend. So I think that's honestly kind of where we're at. Ultimately, there's a lot of young quarterbacks that are in the league, coming into the league. I still think quarterback has been a problem in the league for the last 5-6 years. So looking at the NFC, Sam Darnold leading the way, winning a Super Bowl, great story. Matthew Stafford, probably the best quarterback in that conference.
Quite a bit old.
Yeah, but he's an older guy. But when you look at the landscape of quarterbacks in the NFC, see, this is the thing. I feel like my standard of quarterbacks is just different compared to what we have now. Like we can sit and say guys like Goff or whatever, they're ranked here, ranked there. But heck, if you place them with the quarterbacks from 10 years ago, not even close. He's not even close to being that in that ranking.
Well, I think
so my standard's just different, but it's just where the league is. I think the league has a quarterback problem, and it's had a quarterback issue for a while.
Well, I don't know if it's so much the quarterback issue. I think it's a practice issue. You know, these guys can't develop chemistry. They can't develop timing. They're not allowed to hit each other throughout the week. And so they're just throwing, passes on air against nobody throughout the week. And then you're expecting them to perform and gain rhythm and gain some sort of chemistry just playing on Sundays. And without having the pads and without having, a harder practice, I just feel that these guys that are doing it, they've had the reps. They've been in the game. They've got the reps now. They've practiced, Stafford, Rodgers, all these other guys that are up there in age. They're playing more consistently because they have all the reps in them already. Now, some of these young guys, there's still quite a bit of an inconsistent play to them until they've, played for a while. Sam Darnold is a good example. It took him some time, and maybe perhaps that's also a development issue. Too many teams wanting to, want things right away and not give a guy a chance to develop. I think that's also another issue. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to want to add another game to the season. And, they talk about, player safety. All that means is there's going to be one less preseason game, and then probably less padded practices, which is probably going to result in more up and down play on the field. But it kind of, the NFL doesn't want to change that, because that sort of evens things out. I mean, at the end of the year, how many teams were fighting for a positioning? The Steelers, I think it was maybe one or two teams at the end that had actually were playing for a playoff position, but the other teams were playing for seeding. And you had some teams in there that were new, and I think the NFL wants that. I think they want to grow their fan base. When you have just the same teams always in the playoffs, some of the other teams, their fan base are going to fall off. Mm-hmm. And so having some of these teams, excel and do some good things throughout the year, well, obviously their fan bases are going to start to rise, and it's just all about money at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on any of that. 1 second here. Casey, Cold, what's going on? Ron, good to see you, brother.
Good to see everybody in the building. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like button and subscribe button. If you're watching me on the Drunk Turkey Show, make sure you go over to Nathan's channel, In Hindsight, and subscribe there. If you're watching there, if you wouldn't mind going to the DT show or the Drunk Turkey show and subscribing here, I'd appreciate it.
Ron, also the Pirates will be in the playoffs this year, my friend. Just throwing that out there. They will be in the playoffs.
There you go.
Crosby, we'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll get into that question in a little bit here with that. But yeah, like you make all good points with that. It's good to see. I think everybody was happy that we didn't see Kansas City sneak into the playoffs. That's the last thing we needed to see, was for that to happen and for them to do whatever.
Yeah.
But personally, it's good to see some other teams start to rise. New England, Chicago, Houston, Jacksonville, even Denver. You're starting to see those teams rise and take away from really your big two, big three that have been in there the last 4 or 5 years. So it is good to see that just as a casual fan. It's good to see that as just a fan of the league, because things need to blossom. You don't want to be seeing the same thing every season.
Mm-hmm.
You need more of that balance. The more balanced a league is, the better it is, the more entertaining it is, the more unpredictable it is, the more competitive. When you're just having your 1-2 punch and everybody else is pretty much either bad or in a similar pond, well, you kind of know the outcome and it's kind of predictable. When you kind of have a big pond, like I feel like the AFC was this past year, even the NFC, Rams were heavily favored, but it felt well balanced. But this league was also weird, I felt, last year. I think that's why fantasy football was rather weird too for a lot of people. But it's still good to see when you're seeing.
I don't think it was weird.
Start to flourish. Well, not for you, of course. You know, Daniel doubled in.
Two-time champion this year on two of my
Daniel
leagues.
doubled in, man. Daniel doubled in. So, with quarterbacks though, I'll be interested to see your thoughts on a couple guys that are on the open market this year, for free agency wise, since tomorrow at noon starts the legal tampering period where players and teams can start to negotiate. Players can commit and sign. Signing isn't official till Wednesday, but agreements can be put into place. So there's a couple quarterbacks on the market. Usually free agent quarterbacks are never really existent. Usually they're backups, they're mid players, because teams will extend and get their guys locked down. What we have right now, there's at least a couple names out there. Kyler Murray's one. Arizona cut him. They're eating that contract. Kyler Murray has faced injuries. He had a good couple years of his career. Faced injuries. Organization's a mess. Kyler Murray also has limitations. And that's why he'll never take the next step in the league. I'm not a huge Kyler Murray guy, but with a situation like him, sometimes guys do need to get out of poor organizations and need more stability and need more help. If you look at Kyler Murray the last 2 years, there really wasn't, to be fair to him, there really wasn't a lot to work with. But he's going to be a free agent. He's probably going to get a veteran minimum contract given the amount of money. It's the same thing as Russell Wilson, given the amount of money that he's going to be getting from the Cardinals. And then you also have Malik Willis, who seems to be probably the hottest quarterback on the market. I'm interested. Here's what I like with Malik Willis's aspect. Malik Willis came into the league very raw in 2022. He was projected to be a first-round pick, fell to the third round, I believe. Tennessee picked him, didn't go very far there. Has been in Green Bay the last 2-3 years and has sat, and that's what he's needed to do. He has sat basically ever since he's gotten drafted into the league. Last year, as a backup stepping in, he showed a lot of good things: athleticism, strong arm. He's helped win games for Green Bay even a little bit the year before. So Malik Willis has upside. The other thing is it's a very small sample size. So what type of contract is he going to get from teams out there that are quarterback hungry? Those are your two quarterbacks on. Those are, in my opinion, the top two quarterbacks on the market right now. With those two, I feel like Malik Willis is probably going to get a little overpaid. But the benefit with Malik Willis is that he has been able to sit for 3 to 4 years. And sometimes a guy like that who's raw, you need to do that. and possibly working with Matt LaFleur, working with Jordan Love, being an organization like that. Can Malik Willis flourish? Can he prosper? Possibly, maybe if he goes to the right situation. But will it also be something where it's a Matt Flynn type situation with Green Bay back in 12 years ago, where he stepped in as a backup and got a decent contract from Seattle and didn't work out? Sure, but it's still kind of interesting when you see somebody like that who hasn't really been a starter, but they do show some promise and some upside on what can happen. So it's just gonna be dependent on that.
So for me, when it comes to those two guys, we'll start off with Kyler Murray. I think he needs a specific place, an offense that's designed for him, and you can probably say that for anybody in the league, but for him especially, I think it's got to be very much the right place, right situation. And I don't know. I mean, I think what made him special was he had a deep ball a couple of years back that was pretty nice, and I feel like that's kind of gone. It's not the same. And he's a guy that's kind of a little too short for me.
His mobility is not really quite there as the way it used to be.
That too, and he still has to drop back so far so that he can see down the field. And without the mobility aspect, that's going to lead to some sacks and things of that nature. And then there's also the focus, for a guy to have on his contract that he had to limit the amount of time he was playing video games. that should say something, And so I'm not in on him. When it comes to Malik Willis, I'm really not sold on Malik just because it's been, I think, 12 quarters of actual football that he's played. And then I think it was something like 26 dropbacks where the play wasn't a screen or a designated throw, where it was designed for him to pitch the ball forward and it just so happened to be a pass. None of the out of those, it's only like 26 to 30 passes. Very small sample size. Would I be opposed to them bringing him in? No, I wouldn't. It just kind of depends on the contract. I would feel more comfortable with bringing him in to compete, but I feel like the contract that he's going to get is going to be to go in to start. And I don't know. I mean, me personally, I'm hoping the Pittsburgh Steelers, go out and draft a quarterback in next year's draft. So if the Steelers were to be that team that brought him in, how would I feel? I think that I would be okay with it on a 2-year deal, knowing that, hey, if it doesn't work out next year, there's most likely going to get a quarterback in the draft. And so this is a guy that's just going to fill in for now. The thing for me is I don't think he's going to be able to attract a lot of other players to come and want to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers or any other team. I mean, last year for the Steelers, they had an opportunity to get Jacoby Myers, and they also had an opportunity to get Rashid, I believe his name. Yeah. And both of those players, because the compensation was the same for the teams went to their respective teams, went to them and said, hey, do you want to go to the Steelers or do you want to go to Vegas or do you want to go to Seattle? And both players decided to go away from the Pittsburgh Steelers. My opinion is because offense wasn't very attractive. The numbers that they were putting in, I understand that they have Mike McCarthy there. He's an offensive mind now. But Malik Willis isn't going to be bringing in a lot of people. So I feel like you're just not only going to be overpaying for him, but if you're going to try to go out there and get a wide receiver or some of these other players, you're going to probably overpay for them too to attract them to come in. For me, because there's another quarterback out there in free agency, and that's Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not sure the Steelers are going to end up keeping him. Did you watch his conversation on Pat McAfee?
I watched a little bit, yeah.
He mentioned a couple of things. He said that the Steelers haven't given him a contract. They haven't given him anything to spew over. They've talked, but not anything in particular. With free agency coming across the board, you would expect that if the Steelers were going to want Aaron Rodgers to be their quarterback, that they would have wanted an answer by now, but they haven't even asked the question yet. And so to me, that's kind of an indication that they probably don't want to go that direction unless the conversations that they've already had were, all right, I'm coming back and don't worry about anything. What do you think?
Right. Those are all fair points, all great points. I don't think any of those can really be argued or disputed in terms of breaking down a little bit of Kyler Murray there, Malik Willis situation. I think what's interesting to me with Malik Willis, it kind of reminds me of Justin Fields a little bit from last year. I think a lot of people wanted, I think a lot of fans wanted to see Justin Fields back last season before they let him walk to the Jets, just given some of the things he did. Young, athletic. Malik Willis is kind of in that same route, and unfortunately, where the Steelers have been for the last several years is it's quarterback roulette, and fans are tired of that. Fans are tired of bringing in a different quarterback every year. I think that's also been a big issue. Not to go on the coaching aspect right now, but fans just want the future, and they want the future of the organization, and for that to be set. And unfortunately, you're probably not going to find that this year again at the quarterback position. So if we're strictly talking about the Steelers, you're probably not going to find that. If we're going to look at Kyler Murray, the only hope that would be there would be leaving an organization like that and working with certain whatever type of coaching can really connect with him and bring out more of that upside that he had his first 2 years with Arizona. It's hard to say what type of coaches that can be. It's hard to say who that can be. And it's not to say Kyler doesn't have any talent or any upside to his game, but there are there's just a lot of limitations there, I think, that turn a lot of people off. With Malik Willis, personally for me, I agree that he's probably going to get overpaid a little bit because there's a few quarterback needy teams. I think people probably look at Malik Willis on, okay, some upside, what they saw last year, small sample size, of course, and that's tough to bank on, but I don't see him getting a long-term contract. So let's just say the Steelers go that direction with Malik Willis. I'm okay with it. It's a sink or swim. Next year is probably going to be the year they draft their quarterback because everybody went back to school. So all these college quarterbacks went back to school, and let's just say the Steelers went that direction and Aaron retires or they don't want him back. I'd be cool with it, just given some of the upside, and he's younger and he can move and he can run and he has a strong arm. Sure. Okay. Regardless who their quarterback is, they need to load up offensively. They didn't do that last year. They didn't do it the year before. Whether it's Aaron or somebody else, you need to just be able to set them up as best as you possibly can for them this season with offensive weapons. So Malik Willis, Kyler Murray, who the hell knows where they end up going? Does Aaron come back? Who knows? Might get a notification tomorrow. But what we all have to know again is that, okay, their future guy probably isn't likely going to be their quarterback this year. So with what the Steelers want to do, the Steelers, it seems like they want to try to win again and add to the team and win a playoff game again, the same thing they've been doing for years and years and years. It's good they're going in an offensive direction because their offense has sucked for 8 years now. But so those are some positives. Not to really go on a Steeler tangent or anything right now, but with what they're trying to do, all right, load up on your offense, get your wide receivers, draft a wide receiver round one. That's what you're going to have to do. Or even if it's Will Howard, I have no idea, but that's what you're going to have to do. But the thing is, there's never any exciting or sexy quarterbacks ever in free agency because they all get extended. They all get signed. None of them hit the market. None. So the only ones that hit the market are guys like a Kyler Murray or a Russell Wilson at the time with Denver. These guys that have big contracts that aren't working out, and then they get an opportunity somewhere else on a cheap contract. That's usually what it is. That was the thing with Sam Darnold. Okay, got a pretty decent contract with Seattle, but it's tough. It's tough.
So do you think that if tomorrow the Steelers, no news on the quarterback front in tampering period, does that mean it's draft or Rodgers for this year in the quarterback room? Because I'm assuming that they're going to try to go out and get somebody, and these guys aren't going to be on the market very long. I don't think they are. Kyler Murray, maybe he might stay on the market a little bit if nobody wants his services, but for the amount of money they're going to pay for him, I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked up pretty quickly. But he may be a guy that waits a while until somebody gets hurt and then see if there's an opportunity for him to go in. But with like Malik Willis, for instance, or even Kyler Murray, if he's sitting back waiting, then and for somebody to get hurt, the Steelers aren't calling him, obviously. And so tomorrow, I'm assuming that Malik Willis is probably going to sign somewhere. He's the top name. So the Steelers don't have any noise. There's nothing about the quarterback position tomorrow. Is that an indication that it's either Rodgers or they're going to draft a guy and that's it? Now, if they draft a guy, and just taking the Steelers out of the picture here, there are a couple of quarterbacks that are available. I think that the one that I would like, because Mendoza's probably going first to Vegas, and so I think Ty Simpson out of Alabama is the guy that people are looking at as the second quarterback off the table. I'm not necessarily certain he's going to be there at 21 when the Steelers draft, but even if he was, I really would hope the Steelers don't go that route. I'm liking Drew Aller, as a third, fourth round pick quarterback, a guy that doesn't prevent you from drafting a quarterback in next year's draft. Because I think if you go quarterback in the first 2 rounds, that's probably going to prevent you from drafting a quarterback next year. You got to give that guy some time to develop, especially if you bring in back an Aaron Rodgers. If you bring back Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be your starter this year. So you're really not going to have anything on the guy. And so unless you're trying to, oh God, what's that guy's name from Arizona? The guy that Kyler Murray replaced. He was a first round pick, and then
Rosen.
Yeah, there you go, Rosen. So unless they're going to Josh Rosen it for 1 year,
no.
You're kind of tying yourself. Yeah, you're tying yourself to a quarterback in this year's draft. And the Steelers did that back in 2022 with Kenny Pickett. And I don't know. I'd rather them hold off. But who do you have a draft quarterback crush thus far in this year's draft?
This year? No, I don't, honestly. I don't think they'll take one in the first round. I really don't. I'm not going to be mad if they would take Ty Simpson in the first round, just because I'm not one of those fans that thinks he knows everything. Ty Simpson, there were some good things there at Alabama. There were some bad things there at Alabama this year. There were a lot of Steeler fans that didn't want them to take Jackson Dart in the first round last year, and now fans have said, "Oh, they should have took Jackson Dart," and everything like that. You're not a scout, dude. You're not a scout. You don't know shit. Honestly, you don't. These guys don't even watch these quarterbacks weekly. They don't. All these fans out there that say, "Oh, the Steelers shouldn't draft this guy. They shouldn't draft this guy." Okay, you can have your opinion, whatever research you've done on whoever, but you're not a scout. You don't watch them. You watch them maybe once a month, guarantee it, at that. So if they would take Ty Simpson in the first round, I'm going to give the kid a chance. I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not going to throw a fit about it. They need a quarterback. Enough's enough. You got to take somebody and develop that guy. I don't think they're going to do that this year, given the amount of quarterbacks that are going back to school for 2027. There can be 4 to 6 guys that can be taken in the first round next year if things go well for those guys. But those kids going back to school for another year is great. So if they decide to take a quarterback, even if that's somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round, great. It's likely going to be Aaron Rodgers again, because the Steelers still want to try to win with this team. They still want to try to win a playoff game with these guys. And that's why I think that they're going to probably spend money on a wide receiver. They're going to draft one in the first round. And I could be wrong, but I think the likelihood is that's what they're going to do. That's why they hired Mike McCarthy. That's why that they didn't go and offload the team, or they didn't make these trades or moves to like Alex Highsmith or TJ Watt or, whoever. They haven't done any of that. And they've already said like they're going to want to win. They're not rebuilding. They're not tearing it down. So, okay, you have a young offensive line in place, relatively, for the most part. You go get another couple wide receivers through trade, free agency, in the draft. Whoever's your quarterback this year, you help them out, right? Set up yourself offensively, given you're going in an offensive direction now as a team, which is for the better. And then you draft your guy in 2027, and now he's set. Defense is aging. That's going to have to get addressed with time. But there's some guys out there on the free agent market defensively as well that they can bring in as well to help. But in terms of quarterback, like for them or just in general, there isn't anybody outside. It's just everybody went back to school, man. So it doesn't mean Owler. It doesn't mean Klubnik, Nussmeier, who else? Ty Simpson, I guess, Taylor Green. It's not sure that Could one of those guys turn into something, a Dak Prescott when he was drafted in the 4th round or whatever? Sure, it's possible. But it's just the likelihood with those type of things. It's just hard to predict, you know? So.
Yeah, it is. For me, it's more so that I don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of the quarterbacks that are coming out. And so if drafting one in the first, 1 or 2 rounds kind of prevents them from drafting a quarterback in next year's round or next year's draft. And that's kind of where
that's
I'm
why
at.
I think 27 is the year they look, because everybody that went back, Arch, Dante Moore, Trinidad Chambliss, John Mateer, Julian Sayin. Well, he wouldn't have been able to declare anyway. But my point is that Lenore Sellers, that's 5-6 guys I listed off that all have potential to be first round quarterbacks next year. As long as they stay healthy and have a good season. Huh?
The guy from Oregon?
Yeah, Dante Moore, he went back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Sam Levitt from ASU got hurt this past year, but he's going to LSU. A lot of times guys go to LSU, things go well. So Sam Levitt could be another guy. So realistically, I would think in 27, unless they love Ty Simpson, but nobody really truly knows how much they do or not, Like their last year when they took Derek Harmon, I think a lot of people are like, oh boy, is it going to be Shadur Sanders? And he didn't go till the 5th round. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So it is what it is, but it's fascinating to talk about. It's fun to talk about. It's just hard with quarterbacks. Like Taylon Green had a great pro day, great combine, showed a lot of athleticism. But he probably won't go to the 4th round probably, and a lot of times in today's league, teams bank on these metrics and these numbers and everything like that, rather than the actual talent the guys possess. And that's why I feel like more players don't turn out than the ones that do.
Mm-hmm.
So not just quarterbacks,
so.
all across the board. I don't really personally, outside wide receiver, I don't think that this is like a super high-end draft this year. I don't. Just given the level of prospects. Like you have some, like in the 1st round, top of the 1st round, you have some good edge rushers there. Wide receiver is pretty strong this year. You have a couple solid corners that will probably go in the 1st round, but once we start hitting the 3rd, 4th round, it's just flat. It's just kind of flat to me. But guys can turn out and everything. So
True story.
We'll see. But the rest of free agency, if we want to transition into what PFF has, and we can talk about some of those top guys, some of those names out there that might be finding a new home possibly.
Yeah. So the first one's going to be Trey Hendrickson, former edge of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's gotten up there in age, has had some injury issues. We just saw Max Crosby, who's also kind of up there in age. Didn't have the most, the biggest season this year. He get traded for 2 first-round picks for the Baltimore Ravens. In my opinion, a bit of a fleecing by the Las Vegas Raiders in that trade. I don't know. I mean, Henderson. Who would you have, if you were in charge of a football team, would you have given up 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby, or gotten a guy like Trey Hendrickson who's going to be a free agent, and you're going to have to pay them both, but now you don't have to give up 2 first-round picks?
So you're asking me basically, would I give up the 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby or just try to sign Trey Henderson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good question. Max Crosby is a beast. I personally think he's a top 5 edge in the league. He's a big quarterback disruptor. He's never really been super up there in sacks. I think the most he's had in a year, forgive me if I'm mistaken, I think it's maybe 12 and a half. But he's just an all-around really good player, really dominant force there. 2 first rounds is a big ask, but when you are trying to acquire somebody who is top 5 at their position, that's really kind of the ask. But you look at Baltimore, it all comes down to context. Baltimore is in a situation where they had a very disappointing year last year. They have Lamar, who is still looked at as a top quarterback in the league. They have a whole new coaching staff. They want to really implement defense. They haven't had a good pass rusher since Terrell Suggs, and they went out of their way and are giving up those draft picks to get somebody to help them win now. I respect it. I think it's a good trade on both ends. I really do. So in terms of me, what you're asking me, it depends. Am I in a situation where I want to win like the Ravens have, where we have fallen short so many years now with the Lamar Jackson window? Or am I a team like where I don't have a lot going for me, but I'm getting a dominant player to try to build something? If that's the case, as you're in the Raiders case, yeah, I would just rather take the draft picks and have that. With Baltimore, I get it. Trey Hendrickson's good too, but Trey Hendrickson also has been injury prone the last couple years, and he's probably going to command a high contract as well. But also at the same time, you're not giving up those picks. So it really just kind of depends, honestly, like who you like better. But there also wouldn't be a guarantee Trey Hendrickson would sign with you. Rather, if you're able to acquire that guy, there's a guarantee you are getting that dominant edge rusher. But I've always been somebody as well as a fan that you have to give to get. And a lot of these times, and throughout the seasons, we want the Steelers to get this guy, this guy, this guy. But fans are stingy on asking price. Dude, you got to give up to get, bro. Like, if you want to get better, you got to give stuff up, man. You got to give things up. And that's just the way it is. So personally, I think it's a good trade on both ends of the spectrum. Ravens got a dominant edge rusher. Raiders are preparing themselves for the future. I don't personally see anything wrong with the deal. That's just me. So if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm excited about it. Really, with your question, it just depends where I'm at. It just depends where I'm at as a team.
Yeah. Thank you, Casey, for being here. I appreciate you and everybody else that's tuning in. Please hit the like button and subscribe button.
Absolutely.
Guys. We appreciate it. See, me, I don't know. I'm a money guy. I'm a financial guy. I own a business. So to me, the performance there between Hendrickson and Crosby when healthy is pretty similar. I would have probably gone for the free agent. I know that you're going to have to pay them both anyways. You want to guarantee you get them, well, you pay them more than the other teams are offering.
Sure.
And so you can do both. But if I'm Baltimore Ravens, well, let me put it this way. If I'm Joe Burrow, I'm nervous now. There's been a lot of
because Trey Hendrickson ain't going back to Cincinnati. That's for sure.
No, he's not going there. And now he's got Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Max Crosby.
Yeah.
Good luck, buddy. I hope you're.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of depressed throughout the season this past year, Joe Burrow. I don't think it's getting any brighter for you, my man.
No, he'll get hurt again.
So the next, while we're still talking about the Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Linderbaum, he's going to be hitting free agency. Yeah. He is a highly ranked, 5th highest graded center in the NFL in 2025 per PFF. This was a guy that I wanted the Steelers to go and get. Now, obviously, the Steelers don't need him anymore. They have a center. I'm kind of shocked they're going to allow Linderbaum to go out there and test the market and go somewhere else. But what are your thoughts on on Baltimore? Allowing Linderbaum to leave, and where do you think he ends up at?
Well, I've talked to my buddy about this. Tyler Linderbaum, I think you can make the case he's the best guy available on the entire free agency market. All pro guy, young center, arguably the best center in the league. He's commanded top dollar. Baltimore needs, even though Baltimore acquired Max Crosby, they still need help because their offensive line sucks. And now you're losing Tyler Linderbaum, and you still have no wide receivers.
You also lost 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, and now you don't have 2 first-round picks. So Max Crosby, I get it. He fits a need. He's going to bring something to that defense, but there's definitely other areas and aspects that Baltimore really needs help with. So Tyler Linderbaum, from what I've seen, is at least commanding $20 million. It's a lot for a center. And there's going to be teams out there, especially some of these younger teams, Washington, New York, that really need a solidified guy and are definitely going to overpay. Baltimore for sure has definitely probably tried to re-sign him, but probably him and his agent are really wanting to test the market, see what's out there. He's going to get highly paid somewhere else. That's just the reality of it. Baltimore's never really been a huge free agency team.
Yeah.
They a lot of times build their team through the draft. They'll re-sign certain guys, but they also need to extend Lamar Jackson. He has a huge cap hit, and he's due for an extension as well. They're taking on Max Crosby's contract, so you can't pay everybody. And that's something where when you have a guy like that who's the best center in the league, they're just going to get outbid. So it doesn't mean Baltimore's not interested or they haven't tried to talk numbers there. But I see a team like the Giants or Washington or maybe some of these other more I don't know. Do you want to say on the come up? But some of these other teams that are just on the more lower end that are probably going to be spending money to acquire more talent to elevate themselves. Those are some places I see him going.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that type of market, honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I definitely think this is a money move,
Yeah,
for
100%.
Tyler, and
100%.
he's going to get the bag. He's going to
Yeah.
get paid,
Yep.
and Baltimore, they've done some pretty interesting things by going out there getting Max Crosby. As you mentioned, they have a lot of holes that they have to
Yeah, they
fill
still
yet,
do. Yeah.
and they gave up two means of filling in those holes to fill in one, and so we'll see
Mhm.
how it works out for them. The other free agent, and he's not really a free agent right now, because he's going to get franchise tag, but that's George Pickens. He had a really good year with the Cowboys, former Pittsburgh Steeler. Uh, I don't know. What do you think about him getting franchise tagged? I know there was some problems with him towards the end of the year last year with Dallas as well. Me being here in Texas, I kind of heard a little bit of the noise, being late and things of that nature to practice and to the game. Some of the stuff that Steeler fans had heard about, when it came to George in Pittsburgh, but he had an offense, he had a quarterback, and they featured him, and he
Yeah.
he put up the yards, and so he's going to
Yep.
get the bag. Do you think what do you think about his future?
I think Dallas is going to give him a deal. They restructured CeeDee Lamb's contract, so I think that they're going to definitely extend him, use that money toward him. I don't think that they re-signed Javonte Williams, so they're going to move some money around. But since they already tagged him, like they're going to extend him. They're going to
Yeah.
extend him because he's going to throw a fit. Which the NFL needs to get rid of the franchise tag. Once a player's contract ends, you have the 5th-year option, sure, for your first-round picks, whatever. The franchise tag needs to go.
Yeah.
I think it's a waste of time. It's a joke. Players don't like it, so maybe that will be something that's discussed in the next bargaining agreement there. But he's gonna get a big deal with Dallas, and Dallas is gonna have a 2-headed monster.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Gonna happen.
I agree. And so
Same thing with T. Higgins. So that's probably going to be the contract to base it off of. Probably more than what he got.
yeah. So there's a couple of middle linebackers that are going to be available. Tremaine Edmonds is
Yeah.
not a free agent, but I think
No, he got cut. He's released.
He's already been cut.
He's been
And
cut.
so I know that they'd given him the go ahead to seek a trade.
No, they
but I
cut
guess
him
they
the
cut
other
him.
day. Yeah.
So you have Edmonds, you have Devin Bush, who's also out there,
Yeah.
and then Devin Lloyd from Jacksonville.
Nakobe Dean's a free agent too.
Yeah.
From Philly.
So if you're a needy team in the inside linebacker position, which one are you targeting?
It's a great question. Tremaine Edmonds had a really good season. Devin Bush had maybe the best year of his career. Devin Lloyd is awesome too, and he's young. So he's younger than Tremaine Edmonds. Probably Devin Lloyd, just given his age and given the season that he had. Nakobe Dean isn't bad, but I don't think he's going to get like a huge contract. So probably Devin, I don't know. Tremaine Edmonds too. I like him. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Devin Lloyd with
Tremaine Edmonds is only 27 as well. So
yeah, and he's a guy that I was hoping the Steelers were going to get when he went to Chicago. I thought maybe perhaps there was an opportunity there, and didn't work out. It is what it is. But now that he's a free agent again, I would like to see him there with the Steelers. I'm not too high on Patrick Queen. I think he's an all right player, but I don't know. I don't think he fits being the star linebacker, so to speak, being the green dot, being the quarterback of the defense. I don't think he fits that mold. I think it slows down it slows him down. And I think that he's probably I know that his best years were when he had Roquan Smith next to him out there in Baltimore, and Roquan became the green dot guy. And so
he
for
sucks
me,
too now.
yeah. For me, I felt like maybe perhaps if you take that away from maybe Patrick Queen, maybe perhaps that might be better. I mean, also it didn't help him that the defensive line was pretty trash this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers up front for the most part. They had some highlights here and there, but a lot of times the offensive line were getting to the second level pretty easily. And so But that being said, I wouldn't mind seeing a Devin Lloyd or a Tremaine Edmonds in the black and gold. But there are some middle linebackers out there for any team to go out there if they're looking for a middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, Patrick Queen, I think he's been a little better than what people will give him some credit for. But I'm sorry, Mike Tomlin's defense sucks, and his defensive scheme sucks. I don't care what anybody says. It does. He's a defensive guy. He's had good defenses in the past. The Steelers had a great defense in 2019. They had the best defense in the league. 2020, they had the second or third best defense. After that, it's been massively disappointing, which is not all their fault either because their offense was trash, and they were on the field a ton. But like, it's not all his fault. It's not all these players' fault. Like, a lot of these times, these players are just put in just bad spots and bad situations. Terrell Austin, again, point blank. It's just it's not always on them. And I understand Patrick Queen was supposed to come in here and really be the leader. He hasn't really lived up to that. But I think that's the thing. If you cut him, who's replacing him? You have Peyton Wilson. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you cut him, you have to go get one of these guys then, right?
They got the money for it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. I'm not saying, like, if you would let Patrick Queen go and you would try to target Devin Lloyd or Tremaine Edmonds, I'm not opposed to it or anything. But I think I like him a little bit more than you do. I think that I would like to see him with another year under somebody else, rather than Mike Tomlin. I don't like the way middle linebackers are with Mike Tomlin outside of when Ryan Shazier was here. I just don't feel like we have success with linebackers, bro. And I feel like we can look at the last 8 to 10 years since 2017. Yeah. All these times of different guys, all these stopgaps, all these signings, these draft picks, everything like that. Like, nobody has stuck. And that's why I don't always want to just put the blame solely on that. Has Patrick Queen missed a lot of tackles? Absolutely. Has Patrick Queen sucked in coverage? Yes, he has. But Patrick Queen he's also had really big games for them the last 2 years. And maybe you keep Patrick Queen, and maybe you bring in not Tremaine Edmonds, but maybe you bring in a Kobe Dean type guy to pair there, right? You can still do that. You're not going to pay big bucks, but maybe you bring in a second tier-esque linebacker to throw in there with him. I don't know. Maybe they target Anthony Hill or somebody like that in the draft. I don't know. Maybe Sonny Styles falls from Ohio State, and you throw him in there with him. I have no clue. Yeah. But I like him a little bit more than what some fans have kind of given him credit for. It's not all on him. I'm interested to see. I mean, this is a whole new coaching staff now. I think the Steelers have built a better coaching staff than what they've had in a while. And I'm totally fine with them keeping him. He only has 1 year left on his contract. You need somebody there. And Patrick Queen's been there. And just personally, if you cut him, what are your options? Those are just the other things to take into account.
Well, I'd take the $13 million you're supposed to pay him and then give that to Devin Lloyd. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more, but I think you have enough there to do it. But that's just me. I mean, I'm not hating on the guy. I don't think he was complete trash.
I'd like to see them bring in somebody to pair with the guy. That's what I like to see.
Well, I'm hoping that Peyton Wilson takes another step. I'm hoping that he is a guy that can be a full-time linebacker on every down. I was hoping that was going to be the situation this year. I think he's got impeccable speed and agility. I think if he can play more without having to think, perhaps maybe, it's kind of the same thing with Patrick Queen there, I guess. Maybe perhaps we'll see a better play on the field.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about this free agency class, though, the running back, and we'll stick with the Steelers because there's been some rumors out there that the Steelers are interested in bringing in the Super Bowl MVP. What's his name? Walker. They're letting go of Kenneth Gainwell, which, if that's the case, I'm not. If you're replacing Kenneth Gainwell with Kenneth Walker III, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I thought Kenny did well this year for the Steelers, but I felt like him and Jalen Warren were very similar. I think Kenneth Walker would be a good addition, but what are your thoughts?
I don't see that happening at all.
I
genuinely don't. I don't know where that came from. I know what you're talking about. I have no clue where that came from, where that report came from. I don't see that. I genuinely don't. They have Jalen Warren under contract again. Kenneth Gainwell was awesome. I'm not going to cry if somebody else pays him. I've read that Rashad White's also an option if Kenneth Gainwell would bounce. He has some similarities there. He's really really your perfect second running back. I want to see Caleb Johnson develop, man. I want to see Caleb Johnson develop. I don't think that I think people that if there's anybody labeling him already, I don't think that's fair at all. They really hardly got any opportunity given Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. So they spent a 3rd round pick on him. I'd love to see him get more opportunity and develop as well. Caleb Johnson, I mean, he has a lot of really good tape in college. So running backs are a dozen to come by. I don't see Kenneth Walker coming here. I see a team like Kansas City possibly rolling the dice there and giving him a decent contract because they're in desperate need for a running back. There was also another team too that I'm kind of blanking out on as well that was really linked to him. I can't remember, but he's going to have a few suitors. I don't see it being here, dude. I see the money going more toward probably an overpay for a wide receiver, probably a left guard, and probably somebody in the back end of the defense.
Probably, receivers. There's quite a few options now. Well, before we get into that, I think they're gonna. I think you're right. They got to give Caleb Johnson an opportunity. Now, Caleb Johnson was partially Mike Tomlin's pick, and so you have a new coach coming in. I say partially because also Omar Khan also had a huge role in that. He's obviously still the general manager, and so there's some probably. I guess I would assume some like what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of lean towards him and giving him an opportunity because they invested into him. And so I see that aspect. I just feel that if you have an opportunity of bringing in a guy like Kenneth Walker for your team, hey, if
I don't even think Kenneth Walker's a top 10 running back though, bro. He had a good game, but like really his season wasn't anything that was.
Well, it's because he was also in a situation where he was in a rotating, type of situation.
He was, but if he came here, I mean, wouldn't it be the same thing? I don't see the Steelers just not using Jalen Warren.
No, I understand that, but I think with Caleb Johnson, he's the kind of guy that needs more consistent rushes. If you're going to split up his rushing, and that's kind of what he said, so he said that he's the kind of guy that needs consistent rushes, and I don't think he's going to get that. I don't think the Steelers are going to have a bell cow type of situation where he's going to benefit from that. The way he almost sounded was kind of like almost Najee Harris-esque, where it took Najee some time to get going.
Who said that?
Well, it was actually Caleb Johnson that said that he has to.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to get the rock a few times before he feels comfortable. He had told that to DK from DK Sports, and so. If he didn't get, going and he's going to get split carries, then are we going to see a similar situation where he's not, going up there and a guy with like Walker, he was able to perform on a limited snap count. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
I'm not saying Kenneth Walker's bad or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's not a bad back or anything, but I don't know what his market's going to be like. We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, we definitely will. But the wide receiver position, if it's a guy like Alec Pierce, I'm not opposed for the Steelers overpaying. The Steelers have been paying the other side of the ball quite a bit of money for a while.
Oh, yeah.
It's about time that they focus it on the offensive side.
I agree. And I know we haven't discussed the coaching staff or anything on really what they did, but the fact that they are wanting to go more offensive. Yeah. And I understand too, like they really valued McCarthy in the way of finding the quarterback. I get that. Okay. But beside the point, they're leaning the offensive direction. I think a lot of fans have wanted them to switch that and start going that direction, not only because it's the league in that direction, but you have been paying your defense. What would you want to say? 4 or 5 years now, they've been tagged as the highest paid defense in the league, and they're not even finishing top 10. They're not even finishing top 10 in total defense. They're not finishing top 10 in almost any statistical category. Maybe sacks, but outside of that, they're not. Mm-hmm. The Raiders, Patrick Graham, their new DC. The Raiders were what? The 13th total defense last year?
Yeah.
The Steelers are what, 27th, 26th? Yeah, sounds about right. So I agree. I think that they might move some money around defensively. Maybe they move off a couple contracts defensively. I don't know. I know Joey Porter's needing an extension. I think he's going to get one this offseason. You don't want him to hit the market next year. He's been arguably the best corner in football. So with that being said, I agree. They need to shift that money offensively. And when we look at the wide receiver market, I don't know how many names you have there on your list, but Mike Evans is available. I'm not saying who I want. I'm just listing names. Mike Evans, Jawan Jennings, I know is there. Alec Pierce is there. Rashid Shaheed, Romeo Dobbs, Wan'Dale Robinson. Those are probably your 6. So it's not this huge, great looking list, but they are all guys that can fit a role and fill a need, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I think that it's kind of, Alex Pierce, maybe Jawan Jennings, because he's had some time at wide receiver 1. Mike Evans is kind of up there in age.
I don't think Mike Evans is the guy they need, man.
No, but if you're looking for like a receiver, I think you're probably, not just the Steelers, but any team in general. I don't think that these, outside of, like I said, the top 2-3 guys, yeah, you're probably, if you're going to try to build around a receiver, I think you're better suited going into the draft.
I agree, and they can sign one of these guys and still draft one in the first round.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to be honest with you.
I agree, but the receiver class is good though. It's good. You have Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon. You have Carnell Tate.
He might drop to the Steelers.
He might. They might have to trade up a few spots, but you know what? They have 12 freaking draft picks.
That's true.
You have Casey Conception. You have Omar Cooper, who his stock's been going up. So there's names. There's guys. The Steelers can definitely take that. DK, one of those rookies, and you go get one of these free agents, or maybe you do make a trade that people aren't really expecting right now. I know Brian Thomas's name's been thrown out there, but I doubt Jacksonville will move off him unless they probably get like a first or high pick for him. But I really do think that at least one of these names, I feel like, don't you think that they would probably throw a good offer at?
I would hope so. I mean, they kind of have to at this point. Like I mentioned, they've kind of neglected the offensive side. And yeah, they got DK Metcalf last year in a trade. And I guess some people might say, hey, well, that's making 2 big moves back-to-back years. The Steelers also drafted 2 tackles back-to-back years. And so if there's a need and a position that they need help in, and arguably the wide receiver room has been, outside of the quarterback room, the biggest need. It's been horrible. The Steelers have had to, means. Another guy we haven't even mentioned, Brian Ayuk. What was his first name?
Brandon Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk, yeah. He's going to be a free agent as well. I think he's already won it. Maybe they haven't cut him yet. But he's going to be a free agent as well. He's coming off of an injury. And then he's also had some off-the-field issues. Not necessarily certain you want to put a bunch of eggs in that basket, but I would hope they go out there and got, an Alex Pierce or Rashid Shaheed, guy that can be a possession type of receiver, and then get one in the draft. Because I agree. And I think that if you were to go something like that, then Mekhi Lemon looks a lot better, because he's more of that slot guy. And for the Steelers, that is Calvin Austin. He's probably going to hit free agency as well. He's gone.
Won't be missed.
And there's not anybody else there. I mean, Roman Wilson is a guy that, the Steelers didn't give him any opportunity.
That whole thing still is baffling and weird.
I think they treated him like he was a spy for another team, I think.
Yeah. That situation with him the last 2 years is super weird to me, super bizarre. I don't know if that's a Mike Tomlin thing or not, but just super weird. And I don't think we'll ever really fully know why. Very weird. Spend a 3rd-round pick on that guy just to keep him in the doghouse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did that with also Caleb Johnson. So it's been interesting, the Steelers draft picks. They, I was hoping when they got away from Kevin Colbert that we'd see some more positive things. And at certain points, it sure did look that way. But Broderick Jones, he's a question mark to even play again because of the neck fusion surgery.
That's the thing, too. Okay, let's go to that. Broderick Jones, neck injury. If he is questionable, or there's really no answer on him as free agency goes and into the draft, is left tackle a spot?
You would hope so, but it
I
doesn't
feel like
seem
it has to be. There's a couple tackles out there on the market.
on the market, yeah. But like, I thought maybe you meant in the draft. I was gonna say they
Draft's
brought
gotta
in,
fit.
yeah, they talked to a couple of guys, but the guys that they've talked to are not top guys,
Yeah.
from what I remember. And so,
They could maybe look in the second or third round there, but
yeah.
like
And
Rasheed
they let
Walker's
go
a
of-
free agent.
and they
from
let
Green
go of their
Bay.
backup, Calvin Anderson. They released
Yeah,
him.
he's gone.
Steelers.
Yeah.
So they're probably putting a lot of eggs in the basket of Dylan Cook, who last year filling in for Broderick Jones towards the latter part of the
He's
season.
impressive.
I thought he did all right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some would say he was playing better than what Broderick Jones was playing as when he was healthy. And so,
Yeah.
you know, we'll see. It's a short, a small sample size, and the tape is going to be the difference maker. You know, can he overcome the tape once the other teams figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are and what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and how they attack it? Then that's going to be the determining factor. But yeah, I do think that tackle, I mean, offensive line is a question mark for the Steelers because you also have, you know, Isaac Seumalo, who's going to be hitting free agency as well. You know, and I mean, you know, I'm just not sure who they're going to bring in. I would assume they're probably going to get a draft pick there. Like you said, they got 12 of them. They got 5 in the top 100. You know, they got a lot of holes to fill. And so I would assume that they're going to at least pick 4, you know, make 4 of those draft picks in the top 100. Maybe trade one away to get in a better position. But that's going to be helpful for this team. But yeah, the wide receiver position, definitely. I would love to see them go out there, get one in the draft, and get one also in free agency, more so than anything else. Would you be surprised if we heard absolutely nothing tomorrow from the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No. Wouldn't shock me one bit.
Neither would I.
I think Omar Khan and Art Rooney, I think, are still in bed. I don't think they realize free agency starts tomorrow.
They're like, we don't want to.
Honest with you,
they don't want to violate any tampering rules.
No, I think that they probably still think that maybe it's February.
There you go.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear a single thing. Would not be shocked.
Yeah,
Which I'm not saying if they don't do anything tomorrow, I'm not going to throw a fit about it. But if we start to see some names fall off the board where we're like, man, that would have been a good get. It would have made sense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we start, and because it's different. Like there's times we've seen free agent periods be slow. We've seen that first day be slow. There's times we've seen it be rapid fire. Yeah. So it just depends. I want to say with the new element of the coaching staff and the team, like somewhat wanting to go in a different direction, I think like you would at least think there would be a little bit of urgency there to hop on at least one or two of these guys right away. But it's going out. All of our reactions are really going to depend on how many people fall. If it's a slow day and we see just a handful of signings, okay. If it's fast paced, we're like, what are the Steelers doing? So, and I don't see it being in between.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, you know, it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of news being broke. You know, if you're a Steelers fan, tomorrow I'm going to be on a show called The Steelers Hangover. It's on SteelCurtainNetwork.com or Steel Curtain Network, also the YouTube channel. And so I'll be talking about that more in depth tomorrow about, you know, what the Steelers did if you're a Steelers fan. We're getting kind of long in the tooth, you know, just kind of a couple of more players real quick that are free agents that I want to get your opinion on. You have Kyle Pitts, tight end from Atlanta. Deebo Samuel, he's going to be hitting the market as well, wide receiver, formerly of Washington. And let's see, I'm just kind of roll through here really fast. Anybody else? Khalil Mack, edge, Chargers, kind of up there in age. Would you put a flyer on him to bring him in?
He signed a 1-year deal yesterday with the Chargers.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
All right. Well, never mind.
Yeah. He returned back there.
What about Elijah Vera Tucker? He's also kind of up there in age too. He's gone up there. He had a torn tricep, I think, last year. But overall, has been a very solid guard. Steelers need a guard. Would you be opposed to bringing in Vera Tucker?
It really just kind of depends again on availability of some other guys. David Edwards is a free agent, the Bills guard. He had a good year. He'll probably get a good contract.
Mhm.
Zion Johnson's young from the Chargers. He's a free agent going into year 5 now. He's had some good and some bad there, but it's just gonna depend. Like if there's one of these guards free agency wise and they can maybe lock one down for a couple years, maybe they draft one in the middle of the rounds or something like that just to kind of sit for a bit. I'm cool with that.
Mhm.
I mean, they're not going to hit all superstars or anything. So if you can get somebody that can hold their own, that's fine with me. The thing with Sayamalu, I have no problem with him being 31. He's had availability issues.
Yeah, he's been hurt quite a bit.
Yeah. So
One last thing before we call it a show, I want to get your opinion on. So the Chiefs, apparently, a lot of people think they're the front runners for a lot of different things because they're the Chiefs. They're the Chiefs. One of the big things highlights was the Chiefs to decide between Travis Etienne and Kenneth Walker, and then Travis Kelce might be coming back. Blah blah blah. Man, I don't think the Chiefs are going to be anything without Patrick Mahomes. He ended up tearing his ACL towards the end of the last season. I
feel like there's people that forget about that.
Yeah, like he's not going to be available in the first part of the season.
No.
And if he tries to push it back and get back early, I mean, one, he's risking further injury, and two, I mean, there's also the mindset you have to get over. And I think a lot of people are looking at, Tom Brady, having a knee injury in the middle of his career and then having a second Hall of Fame career afterwards, and immediately being back to performing at a high level. But the year that Tom Brady tore his ACL in 2010, I believe it was, or in 2008, maybe it was then. The year he tore his ACL, it was in the beginning part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes was towards the end. I don't know. I think if I'm a team looking for a ring or a player looking for a ring, right? One of these guys that, in the past they would follow Tom Brady around, or even, here recently, Patrick Mahomes to try to get a ring. I'm not looking at the Chiefs this year. They're not looking like that destination spot, not without Patrick Mahomes. What do you think?
Well, we don't know how long he'll be out for, and we don't know how he'll be when he comes back. So those are all good points. I think really that's just going to come down to players banking on it, banking on Mahomes coming back and Chiefs getting back to form, honestly. Because if you're a player and you sign, okay, you can look at the contract. But if your intentions to really be in a successful spot or go on a playoff run or get to an AFC championship or Super Bowl, sure, like, okay, you look at the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Mahomes, whatever. How old is Mahomes, by the way? Was he 31?
Yeah, he's
Early
31.
30s?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, you look at that. Okay, how long is he going to be out for? We don't know. How's he going to be when he comes back? But it's really just that reliability factor of knowing who he is and trusting and believing that he is going to come back to that, and the Chiefs will be able to reshape that quickly. So that's a good point, though. I don't know. I don't know when he'll be back. Will he be out the first month? Will he be back till, will he be out all the way through the first half of the year? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, he's 30. He'll be 31 by the time the season starts.
Okay.
And he turns 31 in September. Let's see. ACL injury time frame for timeline to heal. 6 to 12 months for a full recovery. I mean, it depends on how bad it was, I guess, but yeah, it's saying there that returning to sports 6 to 12 months. And so, he rushes it. He can really do himself some damage and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But if it's a full year, I mean, he like I said, he's not coming back until December.
Well, Kyler Murray tore his ACL, I think it was in 2022, toward the end of the year, and he didn't come back till like week 8, week 9.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would probably assume that about halfway through the season.
Yeah. Well, then if you're the Chiefs too, what's your quarterback plans?
Well, apparently Minshew did not tear his ACL. It was just a sprain or something of that nature.
Well, you have to prepare of maybe being 4 to 8 weeks without him to start the year. like you probably want somebody that you know is going to. But again, I mean, who is that, right? Because you're just banking on second string quarterback. So I feel like that's kind of hard to find somebody that's going to keep you afloat for 2 months.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Somebody to keep you afloat for 2 months. Now, the one thing they do have going for them is probably, I mean, I don't know how difficult their schedule is. I know they're not playing a first place schedule because they weren't obviously first place. So I'm going to look up their strength of schedule. Let's see, 2026 strength schedule. Let's see, it's the 5th hardest schedule. Never mind. I was like, yeah, they might have an easier schedule, but they got the 5th hardest of the entire league.
Okay.
As of now, of now, they got the Seahawks, the Rams, the 49ers from the NFC side that they'll be playing. Their home games include the 49ers. Away games are Bengals, Rams, Seahawks, Falcons. And so, it's it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
They got the 5th hardest schedule at this point. But those things can change throughout the season. But yeah,
they can.
Well, my man, I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm excited to see what the NFL brings us. Tomorrow is kind of like Christmas Eve for the NFL.
Yeah. Yep. I hope that it's not a slow day. I feel like last year's free agency period was kind of slow the first couple days. So I would love to see things kind of be rapid fire right away. I feel like that just changes by the year. I also don't feel like this is like a huge like free agent market this year. So this offseason, so to say, there's names. There's guys as well that aren't like high up their name, but are valuable. But just in terms of like the poll itself, there's definitely has been like more stronger, more enticing, but I hope it's rapid fire. I hope we see the Steelers name in the hat a little bit, and we'll be here to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. You can find Nathan on In Hindsight. It's linked in the description. If you're watching on his channel, you can find me at the DT Show. I also talk true crime and conspiracies and things of that nature. So if you're into that type of stuff, go check us out there. Any final things you want to say before we call it a show?
Just appreciate everybody that's come in with the comments. Everybody that's tuned in. We'll see what happens with free agency, and Daniel and I will be here to talk about it because this is kind of I don't know. This is probably at least for a few days, the hottest few days until the draft. So,
yes, sir. So you guys know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. We'll see you guys. I'll be back on Tuesday live talking about some true crime stuff. I'll probably have a show on my morning cup to go tomorrow morning. So see you guys then. Peace out, y'all.